Welcome. Well, what?
In progress.
Team, Kimuli, Kwagala, Techno Spark, again, you have gone to Techno. Good enough, Tia Simon has told me your name. Juju, Veronica,
Hallelujah.
Emmanuel, everybody is most welcome. I want everybody to mute their device. Just a little Kumu. You're most welcome. Lovette, they have told me your name is Lovette, but you should always rename your device, okay? So that your classmates will know your name, even your teacher. Because someone will read when class opens, you find saying that for us in class we are studying with the Techno,
you leave it,
which is very unfair. When people make noise, that is what I do. Nancy, you're very welcome. And now everybody, welcome. The lesson begins straight away because curfew is about to begin. Yeah, for us, in order not to be caught up by curfew, let us do like this. We want to begin by reminding ourselves of what we studied yesterday. We looked at the meaning of pollution, the types and the dangers, okay? And we said pollution simply means when the environment is made unclean with impurities. Somebody has named themselves Infinity. Please put your real name. Don't be Infinity, put your name. And that is Nancy. Nancy, please, don't call yourself Infinity. Pollution is when the environment is made unclean with impurities. Clear? With impurities. We looked at the types. We said we have air pollution, we have soil or land pollution, and we have water pollution. Air pollution is when air is made unclean with impurities. Commonly, fumes or smoke from the following: from industries, from vehicles, cars and motorcycles, and it could be smoke from other fossil fuels, for example, wood fuel when we are cooking. Number two, land pollution is contamination of land, okay, with dangerous things, for example, polythene papers, plastic material, metals, broken pot remains, and many other substances that can be harmful to the soil. And now finally, water pollution is when water is made unclean with impurities, for example, human waste, animal waste, deposition of soil into a water body by erosion, and many others, okay? So that was all about yesterday's lesson. And guess what we are looking at now? Today's lesson, we are going to look at environmental conservation. Environmental conservation is what we are going to see. We shall be able to see the meaning and ways we can conserve the environment. Nancy, there is noise from your side. We are looking at.
Don't say that I've added us.
Environmental conservation, the meaning, then we look at ways we can conserve different areas of our environment. Let us begin right away. The word conservation, the alternative word is protection, okay? Therefore, environmental conservation simply means environmental protection. Kwagala nana, you're not attentive. Somebody is quarreling near you. Let them give you space for you to learn better. Thank you, my dear. So environmental conservation is the protection of the environment from harm. Environmental conservation is the protection of the environment from harm. Environmental conservation is the protection of the environment from harm. The key word there is protection. To conserve the environment means to protect it from any harm, from any damage. Clear? So that is all about environmental conservation. It means to protect the environment from harm. Now, you realize the purpose of protecting our environment is all about this I'm underlining right now. Sustainable use of the environment. Because when we say we should protect our environment, someone will say, let me not use the trees. Let me not use the water because it will get finished. No, we are supposed to use these things, but we use them sparingly, okay? We use them without stressing them, okay? Not overusing. Similarly, even in our house, we should use the resources we have there sparingly, okay? We don't use to finish, that is wastage. And also should not fear to use them. That, let me not eat my sauce, it will get finished. Then you eat food without sauce. That's not good. So we do what we call sustainable use of the environment. Sustainable use of the environment, okay? We use the environment in a way that we are sparing it, okay? It satisfies our needs, but also should not stress it, okay? That's what we call a sustainable use of the environment. By definition, we can say this is the, you guys. This means using the environment sparingly without stressing it. That's what we call sustainable use of the environment. Clear? This means the using of the environment sparingly without stressing it. Clear? We shall not stop using trees, okay? Cutting trees, we can never do without it because we shall need furniture, we shall need timber, sometimes we shall need charcoal, okay? But now, how can we do that without stressing, without causing stress to the environment? We can cut one tree, we plant 5 more, you see? Now, if we do that, we are using our environment sustainably. But if we cut all at once, we have not even planted any. There we have caused a lot of stress to the environment. So now we have not used our environment in a sustainable way. So sustainable use is all about that. We can use water from the lakes for irrigation. We use too much water, okay? But because we planted many trees, the used water will be replaced through rain formation, clear? So that is what we call sustainable use. We are using the environment, but we are not stressing it. Hands up if we understand the sustainable use of the environment. Okay, Lunkuse is on the same page with me, but okay, wonderful. Even Lovette, I don't see Pony. I don't know whether she's present or absent. Even Veronica, I think she has understood me, even Daniela. All right, so straight after discovering the meaning of sustainable use of the environment, I want us to look at ways we can conserve the environment, okay? Remember, the environment consists of very many things. We shall look at water, We look at land or soil, we look at the air and any other component of the environment. But before that, Lunkuse's hand is up. Therefore, I want us to listen to her. Then we can be able to proceed. Lunkuse, unmute and speak to us. It seems her hand was up when she was telling us that she has understood. Let me mute again. Let everybody mute their device. Thank you for that. Ways of conserving the environment. To begin with, we look at the component of the environment known as vegetation. Vegetation, we mean plant cover, forests, grassland, crops, etc. Clear? How do we conserve plants? One is through afforestation. Whose device is again not yet? Daniela. Daniela, please speak to me. Seems Daniela is only making noise. We can conserve vegetation through these practices as I've listed them. One is afforestation. Afforestation. And afforestation here simply means planting of trees on a large scale, especially on a place trees have never been planted. So we say afforestation is the planting of trees on a large scale in a place where they have never been planted. Or we say this is the growing of trees on a large scale where they have never been grown or planted. Do you understand afforestation? Yes, wonderful. The growing of trees on a large scale where they have never been planted. Then the second practice is what we have called reforestation. 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 When you see the word, the small word re, it's a word we use to mean doing something again. So reforestation means planting trees again. What went wrong? Maybe trees were cut. So you're replacing the trees that were cut down. Therefore, reforestation is the planting of trees in a place where they have ever been planted. Or we can say reforestation is the planting of trees to replace those that have been cut down. That is called reforestation. The other way of conserving vegetation is through gazetting more forest reserves. We have many areas with trees in our country, okay? But they have not been protected as forest reserves. And as such, people are continuing to use the land in any way they want. So what should happen is the government should come out and say, this area is a protected area. Nobody is allowed to carry out any human activity therein, so that the trees and other types of vegetation can continue to grow. Clear? So that is called gazetting more forest reserves to protect the forests. We can also gazette more swamps, actually, even swamps, so that the plant cover that grows in swamps can continue to grow. We are now at D, use of alternative sources of energy. Clear? We can protect our trees, forests, and other vegetation examples by using alternative sources of energy. Do you realize that our commonest energy we use most of us, is from wood fuel, firewood and charcoal. That's what most of us use to cook. Okay? That's what we use to cook, not so. So, what we can do now is to use alternative energy. For example, I have them there, solar. It can be used for lighting. It can even be used for cooking. We can also use biogas. It can be used for the same purpose. Then hydroelectricity. The use of these sources of energy will cause some relief on the forests, okay? We shall no longer cut trees very much in order for us to get firewood. No, we want charcoal, no. Because we shall now be using electricity for those purposes. My friends who are near Kwagalanana, I know you are running and enjoying the lesson, but give her peace. Thank you. Okay, so we can use this other alternative energy so that we stop cutting down the trees. If we use hydroelectricity, if we use solar energy, we shall reduce on the rate of deforestation. Are we together? If we use alternative sources of energy, it will reduce on what we call deforestation. It is now at this time that I should introduce a word known as rural electrification. Rural electrification simply means extension or extending of electricity to rural areas or villages. That one is called rural electrification. This helps the local people to use electricity in carrying out most of their activities like cooking, lighting, ironing of clothes, watching TV, etc. Okay? So rural electrification will also reduce on the rate of deforestation. Ashaba Klo has just come and you're very welcome. I want to go to ways of conserving the soil, and I should invite some of my friends to take us through to read with me. A friend who that I should call right now, who should read for us ways of conserving the soil. Yes, Whitney Runkuse, your hand is already up. Take the opportunity. I think I should allow you to unmute in the first place. Unmute and shine brightly.
Planting cover crops, terracing in hilly areas, mulching, contour plowing, crop rotation, proper farming methods of farming.
Proper farming methods. Okay, that's where we stop. Proper farming methods. All right, I can see hands are up. That's wonderful. Cover crops are those crops that cover the soil. Not so. Cover crops are crops which, when grown, they will leave the soil completely covered so that it is not exposed to agents of erosion. I hope you understand that. Now, terracing also helps in control of soil erosion, the same as mulching, the same as contour plowing. Our crop rotation, I think some of you understand it, crop rotation, where we change crops. The crop you grow this season is not the one you grow next season. In science, you study about its advantages, among which includes control of pests and diseases of crops, maintaining fertility of the soil, and others. Then we also have use of proper farming methods, whereby crop rotation is one of them. Then we can also practice what we call bush fallowing, a system where we allow the soil to rest a bit so as to regain its fertility. We should also stop throwing a lot of garbage especially plastics, polythene, metals onto the soil. Because when they get mixed in the soil, you all know they don't decompose. So they'll only be important in preventing water from entering the soil, and they will stop the aeration of the soil. So those are bad practices. I have Daniela, her hand is up. I've asked you to unmute Daniela. Shine brightly. Daniela? Daniela? Seems Daniela put the hand. Network is disturbing.
What is the meaning of?
So Daniela, you type in the chat box what you want to say. We can't really get you. Lung say we have already given you an opportunity to read. I think now this should go to another friend of ours, okay? Otim Jerry, take us through ways of conserving wildlife. Otim? Peace Sunday. Jasoneto Kumu. Have you unmuted? Oh, Daniela was asking us the meaning of HEP. HEP is a short form. Let me circle it here, you all see it. HEP is a short form of hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power. Okay, that's the water, the power generated from fast flowing water. Ways of conserving or protecting wildlife. Wildlife, basically, we talk about wild animals, even the wild plants and birds. Fencing, so that we can protect endangered species. Species which are at risk. Okay, those which anytime may face what we call extinction. For example, when you talk about animals, there are those animals which people like hunting because of ivory, because of meat, because of high disease, you see? For example, elephants and many other animals. The areas where they stay, game parks, we can fence them so that we keep poachers away. Okay, so that is what we call fencing endangered species. Number two, banning the hunting of wild animals. Banning. This banning, I hope you know what it means. It's not the other banning with fire. To ban is to declare something illegal. To say this should not take place, okay? Banning the hunting of wild animals. I think it's already banned, okay? Poaching is illegal right now. So those people who do poach, be arrested, be prosecuted in courts, and be punished, okay? Enforcing laws against trade in wild animal products. For example, there should never be a market for ivory, that there is a market for tortoise shells. That should not be there, because if you go and do poaching and you get the ivory, if you have nowhere to sell it, then you stop that practice, okay? So that is one way of conserving wild animals. Then finally, the last one, establishing or creating more game reserves. Creating more animals where to protect wild animals from. Our sister is asking for the meaning of establishing. To establish something means to start. Putting in place something is to establish it, okay? So when we say establishing more game reserves, we mean putting in place more game reserves, okay? Okay, finally, we got the last one. You are so confused. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to show you another slide of ours. There it is. Ways of conserving water bodies. For example, lakes, rivers. How do we conserve them? Protecting water sources from pollution. Make sure that those dirty substances, okay, those impure substances do not enter the water. You who fetch water from a lake, don't reach there and you susu there. Don't susu there. Then don't direct remains from your house, food remains, and pour them into the river, okay? Then some of you in the future, when you grow, you will start industries. The sewage from your industry should not be directed into the nearby lake or river, clear? By doing that, you're protecting this lake or this river from pollution. Number 2 is planting trees in catchment areas to sustain water supply. This means we should plant trees near lakes and rivers, okay? Because when you plant trees near lakes and rivers, these same trees and rivers will help in rain formation, and therefore the water will keep on adding in these water bodies. Second last, controlling soil erosion on river banks. We should make sure that the soil is not washed into the lake or river. Because when that happens, what is called silting will take place. I hope my good people remember the meaning of silting. Silting is when soil is accumulated into a lake or a river, and the result is that the water will become dirty, and some plants will grow in the water body, and even you shall not use this water body for transport since it will become shallow, okay? The last one here is recycling wastewater. Recycling wastewater to make it safer for reuse. My friend was asking for the meaning of a game reserve. Lovette was asking. A game reserve is an area of land gazetted by government for conservation of wildlife with authorized hunting. A place where government protects so that animals can live there and be safe, but the government can authorize hunting if you apply for that. That's called a game reserve. Now here we are looking at environment management bodies in East Africa. Each country, here we have put a body responsible for protection of wildlife there. In Uganda, we start with Uganda since we are seated in Uganda right now. National Environment Management Authority, which we commonly call NEMA, National Environment Management Authority. That is a body generally responsible for protection of wildlife. It is a body which is under the Ministry of, let me first ask you, let me see if you know the ministry which is in charge of protecting the environment. Who of us knows the ministry in charge of protecting the environment? In our chat box, can I have a look at that? Ministry of what and what that is responsible for conserving the environment?
Ministry of Forestry.
Nancy says Ministry of Forestry. But I want to say no, thank you. Because the environment does not only have forests, it has water bodies, it has, it has the atmosphere. Then I have Malad has said Ministry of Agroforestry, and I strongly want to say no. Ministry of Wildlife and Agriculture from Okumu, I want to say no. Nachimuli says NFA. NFA is not a ministry, it is a body under the same ministry I'm looking for. To cut the long story short, the ministry is called Ministry of Water and Environment. The ministry responsible for protection of the environment is called Ministry of Water and Environment. Clear? Therefore, NEMA is under the Ministry of Water and Environment. Then, NEMA generally is responsible for the environment. But the part of environment NEMA is much concerned with is called wetlands. Wetlands are areas with high water levels. For example, swamps. For example, lakes, rivers. So, swamps, lakes, rivers mainly are under the protection of National Environment Management Authority. Then, wildlife, wild animals, wild plants, game reserves, game parks are under the protection of UWA. UWA, who can tell us UWA in full? Veronica, I believe you are present. Who can tell us UWA?
Yes, teacher.
Tell me UWA, Veronica. UWA
Yes.
in full. Veronica doesn't know UWA. Who knows UWA? Malal Emma. Chiviru. Blesso. What is UWA in full? Blessed doesn't know. Okay. UWA is called Uganda Wildlife Authority. Uganda Wildlife Authority. Then finally, NFA. NFA in full is called National Forestry Authority. National Forestry Authority. Now, UWA is in charge of wild animals, wild plants. Clear? Then NFA is in charge of forests. You have got that one. Is in charge of forests. Now, in Rwanda, the body in charge of the environment is called Rwanda Environment Management Authority, REMA. Number 3, from Tanzania, they call it National Environment Management Council. From Kenya, it is called NEMA, like ours, National Environment Management Authority. And in Burundi, they call it the Department of Land and Environment Management. I think you have understood this one. Now, if you have understood that one, I want to see very well why these bodies were set up to make policies for protecting the environment, for sensitizing. Sensitizing is educating people. For sensitizing people about the environment importance and monitoring human activities to protect the environment. Second last, enforcing laws on environmental protection. For example, arresting people found destroying the environment. The last part on that one is evicting people who encroach on reserved areas, people who illegally settle in the forest reserves, in game parks. So these bodies, NEMA, NFA, and Uganda Wildlife Authority, they chase them. So to chase them is to evict them. Is there any one of us who has ever seen someone's crops being cut and destroyed because they planted in a swamp area?
Not it.
Have we seen that before?
No.
We have not seen because we are ever in Kampala, eh? But it happens. That is called eviction. Let's have a look through these questions as we end, so that I see whether learning has taken place or not. What is environmental conservation? I want an answer from a smart child. What is environmental conservation?
Edwin?
What is environmental conservation? Network kweli. What is environmental conservation? Yes, my people are putting up their hands. Let me check them. Yes, let me ask Narukwa, Daniela.
This is the maintenance of the environment.
And its components.
The maintenance of the environment. That's what I gave my sister Daniela. Let me go to Veronica.
This is the protection of environment. This is the protection of environment from harm.
Thank you very much. The protection of the environment from harm. Very good. Number 2, how does the use of hydroelectricity conserve forests? How does the use of hydroelectricity conserve forests? Yes, Lovette. Lovette. How does the use of hydroelectricity conserve forests? Lovette, your hand is up. I'm asking you, you are not answering. I think I should do. Okay, unmute. I'm not allowed you to unmute. Please unmute, Lovette.
Yes.
Answer for me, number 2. How does the use of hydroelectricity conserve forests?
Yeah. Teacher,
Mm.
it was for the first question.
But I think you can also answer number 2. Is it hard?
Yes.
Yamawe. Okay, we earlier said that if we use hydroelectricity, we shall no longer use firewood and charcoal, not so? We can use electricity to replace firewood. Therefore, it reduces the rate of deforestation. Answer for number 2 is that it reduces the rate of deforestation. Thank you, Okumu, your hand is up. I hope that's the answer I wanted to say. But now, Okumu, I can give you number 3. Say the importance of the atmosphere to people. Atmosphere means space, air. The importance of air to people. The atmosphere gives us air for breathing, gives air responsible for our plants to grow well and manufacture their food. Then we go to number 3. 4, how is afforestation similar to reforestation? Both involve planting trees. I'm rushing because our time is over. We have less than a second. See you tomorrow. Homework is already in Google Classroom. Notes are going to be put. And mute and say bye to teacher.